What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 7 match of the LET, or the League of Extraordinary Trainers. This week we are taking on Coach ST and the Westbrook Wartortles. So let's move forward here to team preview real quick. And there we go. So let's run through ST's team real quickly here. He has Landorus-Incarnate, Tapu Fini, Necrozma, Alakazam, Chestnut, Jolteon, Trevenant, Hitmonchan, Golisopod, Mega Scizor, and Incineroar. I was expecting Tapu Fini and Alakazam over the Incineroar and the Trevenant. The fact that he brought Trevenant and not Alakazam means that Trevenant is the only one that can be a Z Crystal user on his team. I'm expecting like an Omni boost with Z Force Curse or something like that. Worthy to note that on his team, he doesn't necessarily have something that I would think is Scarfed, to be completely honest. The only thing that I can think of that might be Scarfed is the Landorus-Incarnate. That is a Mega Scizor, so it's not going to be Scarfed regular Scizor. He did bring Priority in Jolteon with Quick Attack potentially, Scizor with Bullet Punch probably, and Incineroar with Fake Out potentially. He has Hazard Setting in Landorus with Stealth Rocks and Necrozma with Stealth Rocks, so I only have to worry about Stealth Rocks. I do have two things weak to Stealth Rocks this week, but I have Magearna to resist them as well. He brought Mega Scizor, which could be a defogger, but my plan is still the same as I talked about in my team builder, just going to get up a Spike. He also brought both of his 4x weaknesses, so the fact that I carried that coverage on Magearna this week for the 4x weaknesses is really good. To be fair, Mega Scizor and Landorus-Incarnate should be coming to every single game based on this team, so that's, I mean, it was fair that I brought those. I've Hidden Power, Fire, and Ice Beam. Yeah, so if you haven't seen my team builder and you want to know what my team is, I'll just run quickly through it here. We have a Suicide Lead, a Selgor, with spikes and some priority and some attacking moves in case I actually managed to hang on not with my Focus Sash. We have a physically defensive Rotom-Heat. This was pretty much designed to take on the Mega Scizor. It's basically my only check to Mega Scizor as well. We have a Shift Gear, 3 attacks Z Magearna, Ghostium Z Magearna. We have a Scarfed Modest, 4 attacks Nidoking. We have a standard setup Life Orb Mimikyu. I believe we have Thunder Wave on there instead of like Shadow Snake or something though. No, I probably do have Shadow Snake now that I think about it. I can't remember. Thunder Wave might have been against somebody else. And we have a Tail Glow 3 attacks Manaphy, but we're defensive with leftovers. I can't remember the exact set. You'd have to watch the team builder because it's been so long since I filmed it that I don't remember anymore. Yeah, so that's sort of my team. Yeah, so I don't care what he's going to lead. I think he's probably going to lead something like Jolteon or Mega Scizor to U-turn on turn 1 or Necrozma to set up rocks. But I'm going to lead a Selgor regardless because a Spike can start chipping things down on his team. That Magearna needs that chip to pick up the KOs until it gets 1 Soul Heart boost, and then it doesn't matter anymore. Sorry, 2 Soul Heart boosts because Jolteon's actually relatively specially defensive. And the best thing I have to hit Jolteon with is an Ice Beam, since we're not running any stab this week, and Jolteon actually resists our Steel Stab anyways. But yeah, so I need 2... I think I needed to switch in twice on spikes for an Ice Beam, a neutral Ice Beam to kill it. So, yeah, so I'm just going to do exactly what I said, and I'm going to lead my Selgor. I have Focus Sash, I know I can take anything. And he's going to lead... Oh, sorry, mine comes out first. Here's a Selgor. And he's going to lead with a Lume, which is his Incineroar. So I'm just going to get up a Spike. I see no downside to me getting up a Spike here, and he's going to go for the Flame Charge, which is kind of bad for me. I do hang on with my Focus Sash. Him getting that Flame Charge and the Speed Boost is pretty bad for my team. I can't really threaten him out with a ton, bar like Nidoking, but I have no idea if he's rocking like Earthquake or anything like that. So, yeah, Incineroar's kind of a problem. Again, like I said in the team builder, I was not expecting Incineroar to come, so this is kind of bad. But we're gonna go with the flow here. So. I'm going to go for the Water Shuriken just to get off as much damage and scout what he is. He is definitely Assault Vest, so this is really bad, the fact that he has that now. But he does show me that he has Darkest Lariat. That leads me to believe that he... what does that lead me to believe? That leads me to believe he was trying to go through some sort of defensive boosts, maybe like my Tangela or something like that, because I'm sure Tangela tanks like a Flame Charge. But it also leads me to believe that he doesn't have Flare Blitz on this set, because he would have to have Earthquake in my mind to hit things like Nidoking, and he'd have to have, well, we'll see that he has U-turn. So Yeah, I'm just going to set up a Tail Glow as I bring out Manaphy here, because then I can actually kill this thing, and he's going to U-turn out into the only the single threat that threatens Manaphy out after a Tail Glow, which is Jolteon. Really good play on his part, and now I have to get the heck out of there. I'm just predicting a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch or something, so I'm going to go into Nidoking. And he actually just does go for the Thunderbolt, which I'm immune to. Now I'm going to go for the Ice Beam predicting Landorus, and he actually goes into Necrozma. I was predicting Landorus because an Earth Power destroys that Jolteon's face. Jolteon would have just died. And realistically, I should have just clicked Earth Power because it threatened out the Necrozma. I was kind of over-predicting right off the bat, but he did have the Trevenant, which resists Earth Power, and Landorus is immune to the Earth Power, and I didn't want to give a free switch in for Landorus, right? Because Landorus is probably the worst thing, the most threatening thing on his entire team, and if it gets up a free Rock Polish on my Earth Power, like, oh, then the game's over. The game's over for me if he gets up a free Rock Polish. So I had to, as much as it pains me to say that I over-predicted there, I actually had to make that prediction. Otherwise, if Landorus comes out on the Earth Power, I lose the game. So it's better in this sense that he brings in Necrozma. It takes quite a big chunk from that Ice Beam. Leads me to believe it's more of a physically defensive sort of thing going on. Just going to bring out Magearna here because I think I can threaten him out with something, or I'll scout for whatever he wants to do. He just goes for the rocks, which is, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it won't turn out to matter too much. I'm just going to bring out Manaphy as he goes for the Earthquakes. We see that he's physically offensive now. No idea what else he has besides rocks. We've seen rocks and Earthquake, and I'm just going to surf this thing and see how much I can do. It's the best move I have. I can't afford to click Tail Glow necessarily. It's doing pretty much nothing, and he gets the crit on the first Psycho Cut. It is a high crit move, but it's not going to crit all the time. It's like Shadow Claw. It's not going to crit every single time. It's just a high crit. So I'm going to go for the Surf, and I'm going to get my own crit this turn. And it's going to do wildly different damage as Manaphy goes down to the Psycho Cut here. Unfortunately, I haven't really used Manaphy to its full potential this season, but this is going to give me a chance to set up an SD with my Mimikyu and click Shadow Claw afterwards. The fact that I have a Swords Dance up here means that he has to bring in Mega Scizor afterwards to threaten me out with a Bullet Punch, because everything else is going to take a lot of damage from Shadow Sneak, and I don't have to worry about that with Trevenant, and I can just click Shadow Claw on the Trevenant and Oko that thing if he brings that out. Incineroar's not going to like a +2 Play Rough. So he does go into the Scizor here. I have my reliable check in Rotom-Heat here. It's kind of unfortunate that he has rocks up to deter my Rotom-Heat, but it's still fine. And you'll see just how little we take from this Bullet Punch. I'm confident that, you know, Rotom-Heat was a good bring this week just because of that. Like, literally we recovered all of it back with leftovers. So now he's going to go out into his Incineroar as I'm going to Volt Switch. I knew Lando wasn't coming in at all because that thing does not want to take no feet. And now I can go into my Nidoking, and at this point I was like, well, I could go for the Ice Beam, but I'm not going to over-predict him again, because he's seen that I have Ice Beam now, so he's not going to switch into Landorus on me. So I just go for the Earth Power, and despite the fact that this thing's AV, good lord, Modest Sheer Force Nidoking destroys things. Here comes the Trevenant. I was expecting him to like set up or something, so I was just going to go into my Mimikyu and Shadow Sneak it afterwards. But we end up just going into Mimikyu here, and we see that he is going to be a Z move, but it's not the same Z move that I was thinking of. It is just Never Ending Nightmare. Shadow Claw, I would guess. Trevenants typically run as a physically offensive Pokemon, so he's going to go for the Z Shadow Claw, which is going to kill my Mimikyu, obviously, because it's super effective. At this point, I can go into my Magearna. I can set up a Shift Gear on this thing for completely free, because he's not going to be able to set up on me. And now I outspeed his entire team, unless he's Scarf Lando. His Earthquake does pitiful damage, because Trevenant's garbage. And I'm just going to go for my own Z, Never Ending Nightmare, because I have Z Shadow Ball. I did change it from Z Ice Beam to Z Shadow Ball at the last second right before my match, and I do not regret that whatsoever. Z Ice Beam would have done the exact same thing to this Trevenant, to be completely fair, but if he brought Alakazam, then Z Shadow Ball was the play, and if I could potentially get a Z Shadow Ball off on the Necrozma, it was better for me too. He does only have one Ghost Resist on his entire team in Incineroar, and he has a lot more ice resists. I thought that Icium Z would be better for things like Chestnut, to break through the Chestnut. Obviously, Ice Beam is always killing the Landorus unless he's Focus Sash for some reason. So I don't know why I didn't think of that in prep, but I did think of it before the match, so we were Ghostium Z in the match. And we got our first boost here. Now he's going to go into Mega Scizor, and I'm guessing he's going to click Bullet Punch because that's the best priority, but I have HP Fire, and I know I'm living this with my defensive investment. HP Fire is going to bop this thing, and now we're +2. So the only case scenario that we lose this game is if Landorus is Scarfed, and it leads me to believe, by him bringing up Jolteon here, that Landorus is not Scarfed, otherwise he would have gone into that. Again, that Spike's chip let the Ice Beam kill it, but I was at +2, so it didn't matter. Yeah, and here comes the Landorus, and this thing's going to die to an Ice Beam too. So this is the first successful Magearna sweep we've had all season. Magearna did pick up 4 kills. 4 kills right here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm fairly happy with that. I actually think Aselgor was a very key member of the team with the Spike getting a lot of chip damage off on things like the Jolteon, weakening the Trevenant for Z Shadow Ball to take it out, weakening the Mega Scizor over and over again, weakening the Incineroar enough that Earth Power from Nidoking killed it. Necrozma was a huge problem, and ST had just dropped something to pick up Necrozma like the week. People keep doing this against me, and I don't know why, but he picked up Necrozma. Necrozma is actually really good in draft format because you can run it in so many different ways. You can run like an Autotomize, well, I guess it gets Rock Polish too, but like Autotomize, Rock Polish, physically offensive set, or specially offensive set. You can run like Calm Mind, Store Power. You know, it's a rock setter like he brought this week. It's a good defensive mon with like Moonlight, Toxic, and things like that. It ended up doing a lot more work to my team than I thought it was. It was pretty scary. It ended up being pretty scary to me in the long run, but I'm glad we dealt with it properly. I don't regret. The only misplay I might have made was actually setting up the SD with Mimikyu and not just clicking Shadow Claw. Because then my disguise was still intact and I could have like eaten the Trevenant hit, but I think in the long run it led to Magearna sweeping, which I'm fine with. And I also think that because I set up that ST, he had to bring in Mega Scizor, otherwise he could have gone into like Incineroar and used Darkest Lariat or something, or gone into Landorus and done some crazy shenanigans like that. Mimikyu generally doesn't hit hard enough unless you're at +2, so that's sort of the idea with that. Mimikyu picking up another kill is really good. And Magearna picking up those 4 kills actually ties it with Mimikyu for the 2 kill leaders on my team. They're both sitting at 8 kills. I believe they're both now in the top 16. Hopefully, after this week and the doc is updated and stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. You know, there you go. It was a pretty close match for the most part. We did win 3-0 over ST and the Westbrook Wartortles here. So yeah, next week we take on Eco and the Florida Feraligators. It's going to be a really, really tough match for us, and I hope that we can pull through. We're currently 5-2. We're sitting, I believe, in 3rd in the overall standings of the entire league at 5-2. We have Corona ahead of us, who we've beaten at 6-1, and TJ, who we play in the last week of the season, who's also at 6-1. And Corona is a divisional opponent, so I believe it's top 2 from each division make playoffs at this point. I don't think we've changed it yet. If we're going to change it, I have no idea on that, but top 2 from each division make playoffs. We're sitting at 2nd in the division because Corona's got such a good record. We could be 1st if I didn't screw up against Chris and I got the roll against Mike. But this is fine. This is fine. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys for our weekly team builder against Coach Eco and the Florida Feraligators.